Some bars are beyond saving, but trust me, you've never seen John Taffer burn bridges like this before.
This bar is failing because of you! Because you don't do but your family!
Yeah, he literally dropped the hammer, and there was no coming back from here.
Let's get the hell away from this bar, because this is disgusting. And when I get back here, you better be covered in... because that's what you deserve.
But the worst of them all, John uncovered a secret so humiliating, so unforgivable, that there was only one option left: to shut it down. No second chances, no saving grace.
Have you ever been touched by ownership? No.
But first, let's talk about a bar so vile, so utterly disastrous, that just one sip of their drinks sent John over the edge. Besides the bar owner being a world-class dirtbag, openly cheating on his wife like it was part of the drink specials, he was equally as awful at running his own bar. Basic hygiene? Nowhere to be found. This place was a petri dish of poor decisions.
Look at this place. Look at how everything is worn and dingy.
John was livid, not just at the filth, not just at the incompetence, but at this guy's complete lack of shame. The cheating on camera was a new level of bold. Even John, a man who has seen the worst of the worst, couldn't keep eye contact with him.
It's hard to respect him, isn't it?
It's hard.
Because your bar's a piece of too.
And then, the moment of truth. Someone finally called the owner out, and you could practically hear the collective sigh of relief from the staff. But did the owner take it like a grown man? Absolutely not. Instead, he just doubled down and made an absolutely wild statement.
You know how much I bust my ass here? I'm here all day, every day, all week.
So the place is organized and clean and together?
Of course.
For half a second, even I believed him. That's how confidently he said it. But John wasn't buying it. He dragged his bar expert into an impromptu investigation, and in less than 30 seconds, disappointment smacked him in the face.
There's a smell back here. I'm guessing this area's not been touched.
Reality came fast, and it was disgusting. The surface grime was bad enough, but what lurked underneath was even worse.
Look at this. It's bacteria. That's growth. We've walked 2 feet into your bar, and look at this.
This bar was so filthy, I wouldn't even sit there even if the drinks were free, and judging by the customers' faces, they felt the same way.
What else we got, Mia?
I want to check some bottles. I'm seeing fruit fly.
The regulars watched in horror, some breathing a sigh of relief that they'd only ever ordered a beer. Anything else from this bar? This was less of a drink and more of a one-way ticket to disaster. Even Joe looked like he needed a shower just from standing inside. The dirt, the grime, the sheer biohazard of it all, his good owner act crumbled. But just you wait, he was not finished. What he said next was even worse.
That's the bartender's job to clean.
And it's your job to make sure they do. You're gonna blame them.
'Cause I can't do everything.
You just told me you did everything.
But hold on, this train wreck was just picking up speed. If the counter was a nightmare, just imagine the glasses, the floor, the pouring cups, and oh, wait till you see what came next.
I'm seeing fruit flies.
We have fruit flies here? Guys flying around?
Fruit flies? That's it. That's the death sentence for any bar, anywhere. You have to have a special level of filth to have fruit flies just casually vibing in your establishment. And if they were flying around, you best know they were inside the bottles as well. Unfortunately, that turned out to be an understatement. This wasn't just filth, this was something out of a horror movie.
Yep, got him here.
Oh.
There's a big one in this one. It's like a moth or something.
Oh my god. That wasn't even a tiny fly that might have slipped by unnoticed. It was a whole insect floating like it owned the place. Even the bartenders who had seen it all looked shocked, which was hilarious in of itself. How surprised are you?
How bad is that?
I think this is the worst one that we've seen.
And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, this guy dropped a bombshell observation.
And nobody noticed this. This owner, he's been drinking these fruit flies and doesn't even realize it.
Yep, not only was he serving this biohazard to customers, he'd also been drinking it himself every day for years. Years! No wonder his brain was slowly melting. But just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, John got his hands on the vermouth. And trust me, nothing could prepare you for what came next.
dry vermouth should look clear. Anybody want to drink that?
Oh lord, I have no words. The glass alone told the story, and the only proper reaction was pure, unfiltered horror. There was actual vermouth. The color was so dark you couldn't even see through it. So naturally, John had to investigate further.
I want you to see something.
What? No, wait, what? That wasn't just a couple of bugs, it was a fully functioning insect civilization. A whole fly metropolis was thriving in that bottle. If that didn't make you nauseous, congratulations, you might be indestructible.
I have never seen anything like that in my life. 30 years in this business. Is that unbelievable?
And the owner? Oh, the regret was all over his face. But not because he'd been poisoning his customers. No, no, no. He was devastated because he had been drinking it himself.
He drinks whenever he's here. Sometimes he will give like $300 or $400 on free drinks.
You guys want to shop?
If I were him, I'd have locked my own bar, burned it down, and changed the name. But instead, this man decided to speak. And what did he say? Even John couldn't believe his ears.
Now that's bull. I checked all these bottles. This is a setup, because that was clean.
So,
No way he actually said that. Even the bartenders were in shock. The level of denial was almost impressive. Almost. Viewers jokingly claimed that his IQ had to be in the negatives, but let's be real, this wasn't about intelligence. This was about a lazy, stubborn bar owner who refused to admit that he had screwed up. Instead of just taking responsibility, he blamed everyone, his wife, his staff, and now, somehow, even John Taffer. Well, John was so baffled that he actually played along for a second.
we went out and caught all of these with little traps, right? Little traps everywhere. Then I peeled them off the trap and I put them in this bottle.
This is comedy gold. This man had no business running a bar, or any business for that matter. Suggesting what he did? Pure idiocy. And John, John was done. He had officially lost his patience, his hope, and possibly a few brain cells just listening to this nonsense.
Come on, man! You're gonna insult my intelligence and them? This bar is failing because of you!
That was it. John could have saved this bar, but after this, he wasn't wasting another second. He was out.
Let's get the hell away from this bar, because this is disgusting. And when I get back here, you better be covered in because that's what you deserve.
We've seen plenty of negligent bar owners letting things slide, bad food, drunk bartenders, filthy kitchens, but Donna, the owner of Chalene's, took things to a whole new level. What went down under her watch was simply unbelievable.
Do not let people do stupid.
Could you believe that? And the worst part? She was having a blast the entire time. It was almost as if she was on a personal mission to burn the bar to the ground, one reckless decision at a time. You wouldn't truly grasp how dangerously absurd it all was until John pointed it out.
In an enclosed space with food around it with carbon monoxide, that engine is running. This guy's burning rubber inside the bar.
But just you wait, this train wreck was far from over. The chaos didn't end with an uninvited motorcycle revving through the bar. Oh no, John caught wind of even more outrageous activity happening just outside.
What happened? Holy.
What he witnessed inside the bar next made the bike incident look like child's play. No one could have prepared for the sheer insanity that was about to unfold. Oh my god, a horse? A full-sized horse? Just strolling right through the bar? Could you even fathom the kind of destruction that could have happened had it lost control? The potential injuries? The lawsuits? This was next level insanity. But the truly jaw-dropping moment? Donna's reaction to what she saw next.
Laughing, she thinks this is funny.
Look, I got so scared it like pooped.
Oh, he crapped on the floor! Oh!
The bar was now drenched in the lovely aroma of fresh horse manure. And instead of panicking or, cleaning it up, Donna and her husband Scott found the entire thing hilarious. Not just hilarious, they thought it was the most badass cowboy thing they had ever witnessed. I kid you not. Don't believe me? See for yourself.
Scott's rode a horse in the bar. Everybody's rode a horse in the bar. You
Bars
ride
I ever
a
drank
horse
it.
in a bar when you're pissed, mother.
At this point, any sane person would assume something was seriously wrong with these two, right? Maybe a head injury? Some deep-seated psychological issue? Close, but no. They were medically fine, just utterly out of their minds. And the reason? Oh, come on, take a wild guess. Alcoholic owners. Classic. And not just one, both of them. These two were far more invested in getting wasted than actually running the bar. So their poor daughter Aaliyah was forced to take over the business. And trust me, she was not thrilled about it.
For me to have any respect for them when they're drunk all the time.
Guess what? As an owner, you are allowed to drink.
Okay, just get out.
John wasn't the least bit surprised. Neglected bars always have the same root causes: clueless, careless, and perpetually intoxicated owners. And Donna and Scott were living proof of it.
These owners always have a drink in their hands, don't they? But it's nobody else's, it's their own, unfortunately.
Lovers can't be haters.
And this wasn't just a once-in-a-while kind of drinking problem. No. The sheer amount of alcohol they put away in just one night was alarming. If you think this is normal, prepare yourself to be absolutely horrified.
Quite a bit of alcohol to push back in one swallow.
It's not even 9 o'clock, Russell.
They were having the time of their lives, surrounded by a loyal crowd of equally wasted friends. The bar was basically an exclusive club for drunks. New customers? Oh, they made sure that wasn't happening.
Want to talk dirty to me?
No, I can think of something else we can go do in the back somewhere.
How uncomfortable she looks.
And if the owners were this bad, what could we possibly expect from the bartenders? If you're holding on to hope, bless your noble heart, but let me be the first to tell you, you won't believe how much worse it gets.
Turn me sideways. Spin me like a pretzel. I feel like my vagina is a pretzel. Ugh.
I can't stand her. She's rude. She's obnoxious.
Meet Yum Yum. Yup, that was the bartender's name. Unfortunately, I can't say the same enthusiasm applied to the food being served at this establishment. Let's just say that his eyes almost popped right out of their sockets.
Look at this, they dunked it in barbecue sauce. So it's not real barbecue, it's barbecue flavored food.
Now, normally, I'd cut a plate some slack if the owners were this far gone. After all, if they don't care, why should we expect their bar to be a Michelin star experience? But here's the kicker. This bar had the audacity to boldly claim they served real barbecue.
There it is, Kid Chileen's Badass Barbecue Steakhouse.
Well, I think the place certainly doesn't look badass.
What did that real barbecue turn out to be? Chicken doused in store-bought barbecue sauce. A sad, soggy, lifeless excuse for a meal. So naturally, when John's recon took a bite, she nearly lost her lunch right then and there. And as if that wasn't bad enough, a customer sitting next to her dropped a bombshell that made everything even worse.
We ate dinner here last night and I had to do the same thing. I had to sit it back and get something else.
Now, Donna was already blackout drunk at this point, so I wasn't expecting her to notice or even care. But shockingly, she actually did. I know, right? A miracle. But before you start thinking she might redeem herself, just wait till you hear her brilliant solution. Prepare to pick your jaw off the floor.
Some people that are mad about their food, I'm gonna buy them some shots. Let's do it.
She's mad about her food. Are you buying her another shot?
What she needs? You were mad about your food too?
John's recon wasn't the only one repulsed by the food. Other customers were just as disgusted, ready to walk out. But Donna, she actually had a plan. And let me tell you, her idea was so mind-blowingly stupid, it only pushed customers further to the edge of leaving.
Like it.
Can we get her a shot too?
Oh, I don't need one.
This is really not a good way to fix our food, but let's have fun with it.
Jesus.
And get this, John's recon explicitly told Donna that she was the designated driver and could not drink. But did that stop Donna from offering her alcohol to make up for the food? Of course not. Talk about negligence on a whole other level. Not just as a bar owner, but as a human being.
I really just wanted to sit down, maybe have a glass of water, not really a hard liquor drink, just a little too much for me to handle, especially since I told them I was driving.
John had reached his limit with this train wreck of a bar, and it's even more more disastrous owners. It was time to confront them and figure out whether they were genuinely clueless or just too drunk to function, because they were definitely acting like it. And Scott? Oh, you won't believe what he said.
You look as good in all of your pictures as you have as in all of your
Thank you.
your shows.
You seem so intoxicated. I'm surprised you know even who the hell I am, to be honest with you.
While Scott was desperately trying to butter up Taffer, Donna was completely stunned to see him walk in. She hadn't expected him at all. John quickly realized that there was no point in reasoning with either of them, so he turned to Aaliyah for some answers. But what happened next left even him in shock.
Can I tell the
Please
story?
tell me the story, Aaliyah.
Thank you. So
The
basically,
bank came in
and
and
said,
said, because you're in default of your property tax.
Instead of just acknowledging their mistakes, Donna and Scott launched into a sob story about how life was treating them unfairly, completely ignoring the fact that their mess was entirely self-inflicted. Too drunk to see reality, they rambled and rambled on.
In the mortgage,
understand
it
that.
says if you don't
Donna,
pay your
shut
taxes,
up.
I will
Listen to the man.
foreclose.
are really gonna do this?
I will.
Yes.
John was officially over it. Talking to them felt like reasoning with a kindergarten class, completely pointless. But props to him for keeping his cool while these two acted like absolute lunatics.
Only I can tell you to shut up. That's the deal.
And you can tell me to shut up, and I will listen.
Thank you. How in debt are you?
I might not.
This was next level absurd. If I didn't know any better, I'd think Scott and Donna were living in some sort of alternate reality, because they sure weren't acting like people who were drowning in $180,000 worth of debt.
I'm sorry. I mean, I'm doing the best I can do.
You're not doing
I
the best
got
you
no
can do.
money.
You're sitting before me drunk.
Aaliyah sat there, red-faced with embarrassment, just like the rest of us watching. Meanwhile, Scott made sure to sing his own praises as a hard-working owner. And Donna, honestly, no clue what she was trying to do except push John to his breaking point.
You're a man. What are you gonna do about it, Scott?
Fight the battle, John.
You're not fighting a battle. You're giving up. You're drinking and giving up.
Oh god, someone please just tape her mouth shut. Even I could feel John's patience snapping. And what happened next? Oh, it was painfully satisfying.
Look at me. Shut up. Don't talk.
I will listen to you.
Don't talk.
Finally! With both of them momentarily silent, John had the chance to knock some sense into them. But if you think this was the turning point, think again. Donna had one more wild card up her sleeve.
This was the most frustrating conversation with a bar owner I've ever had. You can't reason with somebody when they're drunk.
Now, hold on a second. Let me spill some juicy behind-the-scenes tea. A Redditor uncovered an article featuring Donna and Aaliyah in a Phoenix newspaper, and it revealed something incredibly wild. According to them, Donna's drinking problem was something the producers exaggerated for drama. The producers allegedly ran with this angle as a way to wake Scott up and push him toward getting help. But in the end, it didn't work.
All right?
You're embarrassing yourself. You're acting like a drunk ass.
This guy was impossible. John was at a complete loss for words. Scott's absurdity knew no bounds.
Every day, because this is me. My name's on the door. And I have fun.
Sure, his name was on the banner, and for a second, you'd think he was just a man who had given up. But what exactly happened after John left and the show aired? Oh, it was far worse than anyone could have imagined. Scott actually sold his share of the bar to Aaliyah in 2016 after Donna left him due to his drinking problem. But that was just the beginning. In 2021, Scott was charged with multiple felonies, including DUI. He was found wandering 2 miles from a crash site and was ultimately convicted of failing to remain at the scene of an accident involving death, vehicular homicide. Absolutely chilling. At least Donna stepped up when it mattered most. But imagine a bar where the owner refuses to do a thing, dumping all responsibility on the staff and his elderly parents? That is when everything spirals into utter chaos.
This looks awesome, guys.
We got some of the fish tacos, which are really good. The aioli really makes it.
Anybody else gonna order the punch? We are super busy. Everybody loves the place. They love the way it looks. They like the new drinks. They like the menu.
When John Taffer approached this bar, the first red flag wasn't inside. It smacked him right in the face before he even crossed the threshold. This time, things were different. The concept itself was a disaster waiting to happen.
Fish heads. But chef, when a fish stinks, where does it stink from? from the head. It's the least desirable part of the thing.
Maybe 18 years ago, this place was the spot to be, but now it was basically digging its own grave, and it wasn't even using a shovel, it was just free falling into a pit of despair. The challenges were piling up faster than the bar tabs, and if something didn't change soon, it was all over.
It's an extremely difficult marketplace. And the median household income is only $37,000 a year.
Slow.
This place desperately needed a leader, someone with a solid business sense, a competent team, and a plan to bring back the profits. It actually had all of those things at once before James's parents decided to hand the business over to him. Oh, and let me tell you, James was an absolute train wreck.
Bartenders out here giving away shots. And,
oh, yeah.
Really, that's cool. Okay.
And what are you doing?
Can't beat them, join them, huh?
Meet James, the bar's new owner. Fresh out of college, he returned home and was gifted a golden opportunity. But to him, this was no opportunity. It was a burden, one he had zero interest in carrying.
It was given a free reign of a bar. The guy was just thrown out and was like, here you go.
I expected him to be as enthusiastic and have as much heart as we do.
The least his parents expected was for him to just keep running the place. No investments, no advertising, just basic management. But James, he thought businesses ran themselves. He had no intentions of lifting a single finger.
Thought, hey, I can't up that much. I can just continue off and getting drunk and hanging out with chicks.
And under his quote-unquote leadership, the bar didn't just suffer, it plummeted straight into disaster. Even the bar staff had completely lost faith in him.
James is incompetent by choice.
I just sit back and play with my dick. I don't do
He's an only child, college paid for.
James wasn't just an unqualified owner, he was a spoiled kid playing boss. No real bar manager on this planet could have or should have gotten away with what he was doing. His behavior was beyond unprofessional.
He doesn't look like he's dressed to come to work. The way that James interacts with the staff is completely unprofessional.
And the best part is that he actually knew that. Oh yeah, James was fully aware of just how useless he was.
I am the solution. If I weren't here, I don't see it lasting much longer.
You won't believe how lazy this guy was.
Up your slack tonight.
Picking up my slack of what?
Can he not do dishes? Can he not bring up stuff? Do we need ice?
His favorite pastime? Pointing out other people's mistakes. But if you don't care about your own bar, why should anyone else? John didn't need a detective to figure out why this place was crashing and burning. Every single sign pointed just to one person.
James is not managing this place, so he doesn't look the part, and he doesn't act the part, so he doesn't get the part.
The craziest part? Even knowing that John's team was watching and recording everything, James didn't even pretend to step up. If anything, he got worse.
2 hours into the shift, you're not going to smoke a cigarette. You're not.
Dude, I'm gonna smoke a cigarette.
We got this. Go smoke. Go smoke.
She just lets James walk all over.
And it wasn't just his negligence or lack of leadership. It was the way that he treated people, his staff, his own parents. The way he spoke to them was unbelievable.
Bitch is angry and old.
James, stop talking to your mama like that.
Kelly, shut the up.
No.
This guy wasn't just disrespectful, he was on another level of delusion. And the worst part? This wasn't a one-time thing. His behavior had been bad for so long that even customers had to accept it as a part of the atmosphere. Like terrible background music that just wouldn't stop.
It's like this every time I come here.
Rates his staff.
You.
But like you said, the fish stinks from the head. This is why.
And while guests were subjected to this lovely ambience, they were also treated to a Michelin star-worthy dining experience. And by Michelin-worthy, I mean the kind of meal that makes you question your life choices.
The best thing I've had so far has been the beer.
James, go over there and see if everything's okay.
Mother's here. Mother should take care of it.
James was a mama's boy, but not in the cute, wholesome way. More like in the draining his parents' livelihood while refusing to lift a finger way. The business was sinking, but neither James nor his mother were willing to shut it down. The result? A disaster on every level.
He's a millennial.
I am not a millennial. I am a Gen Y.
This is a family that is not very supportive of each other.
No.
The bickering escalated into full-on arguments, public, embarrassing, and downright painful to witness. Customers outside turned away from secondhand embarrassment, while those inside braced themselves for what was coming next. And what exactly came next? Oh, it was jaw-dropping.
You're Generation
What, Generation
L.
L?
Yeah, lazy.
Loser and lazy.
You're just a Generation C. I said it.
This was madness. James wasn't just failing at running the bar, he was actively destroying it. All he had to do was step up and manage the business his family worked so hard to build. If he didn't, they'd lose everything. And I mean everything.
But if he doesn't step up, his family loses $250,000, his parents lose their retirement. I'm gonna make him step up.
And well, that's a wrap for today's video. So which of these owners do you think was the worst? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you love watching Taffer lose his mind, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications. Oh, and if you think this was bad, just wait till you see my next video, cause trust me, you have to see it. It's even crazier.
Because you'd rather be a pirate.
I'm walking out because I've got a head yelling at me.
Now, let's see what made Taffer go crazy in these moments.
Do you know this is happening or not? Yes or no? Do you know it?
Do I know what?
That there's bugs all over your bar.
There's bugs all over Austin.
In this episode, John Taffer descended upon Austin, Texas to tackle headhunters, a chaotic fetish tiki bar owned by Steve, a former engineer turned bar owner.
I got tired of working for corporate America. So what better business than being a business that has music, people, and some degree of freedom?
At first, the bar had been a roaring success, pulling in up to $67,000 a month. But as bands began flocking to trendier venues, headhunters spiraled into filth, chaos, and financial disaster. It was now a $250,000 mess, reeking of failure and worse.
Life savings in this, $250,000 plus 10 years of sweat equity. If things continue this way, we're gonna be done.
John didn't come alone. He brought his wife Nicole, along with mixologist Joe Brook and service expert Jesse Barnes to scope out the situation. From the moment they pulled up, the exterior looked abandoned, a harbinger of what was to come.
Disgusting. And I think it's very telling that all the places around it have people going, and there's no one going in that one.
John showed Steve footage of locals trash-talking the bar, and their opinions were anything but kind.
People that just walk in will be like, oh, sketch city. All right, time to go to the next one.
It was really sketched out, and I didn't want to go inside.
Inside, things were worse than anyone could have imagined. Nicole was hit by a putrid stench the moment they walked in. Sleazily dressed dancers swayed to a punk band's blaring music, and on stage, one of the acts simulated a miscarriage, utterly revolting. The smell, that was thanks to a cat, or more accurately, cat pee in the bar.
There's just this disgusting, heavy, wafting smell of either mold and must or cat piss.
Nicole ordered a drink to see how bad things were behind the bar, and what she found sent her running. There was something floating in the bottle. The bartender tried to shrug it off, but John wouldn't let it slide. It was a cockroach. Disgusted, Nicole stormed out, while Steve denied the bar had a bug problem, chalking it up to a typical Austin issue.
You're supposed to know these things.
There are no bugs in the bottle.
Do you know this is happening or not? Yes or no? Do you know it?
Do I know what?
That there's bugs all over your bar.
There's bugs all over Austin.
John wasn't having any of it. He called in his experts, and the verdict was grim. Mold in the ceiling and bugs infesting the liquor. Steve? He just laughed it off like it was no big deal. John's anger boiled over, and he ordered the place to be fumigated immediately.
I'm gonna get on the phone, and I'm gonna fumigate this building tonight. You didn't have the balls to do it. I'm gonna. You didn't write the check. I'm gonna.
The next day, John gathered the staff to watch footage of the exterminators in action. Bugs crawled everywhere, a literal infestation that had been festering for years. But Steve still didn't seem to care.
Here's what he wrote. That the conditions noted are a health hazard and a public danger.
The staff, meanwhile, confessed they were only paid in tips. Steve wasn't paying them at all. Furious, John dug deeper, and when Steve claimed he'd offered them payroll, they called him out, accusing him of lying.
I offered them the option of paying, they refused.
Determined to fix the mess, John stepped in to help the staff get on payroll, but Steve tried to dissuade them, warning about taxes and fewer hours. John had reached his breaking point with Steve's excuses, but the staff, having invested so much, decided to stay.
Hire somebody to work in your business and not pay them. It is not an option.
Joe and Jesse kicked off training, with Joe teaching basic cocktails and Jesse honing in on service speed, targeting a 30-second turnaround. John soon uncovered Steve's deeper motivations. Tied to his father, Steve was hemorrhaging $4,000 a month, sinking into personal debt to keep the bar afloat. He promised his staff he'd turn things around, but trust was wearing thin.
On average, at least 3 to 4 a month. I did something that I had to do. I took some loans. I had to keep the cash flow going. Then I'm loaded up on credit cards as I pay hand to mouth.
Then came the stress test, a packed bar, drinks flying, and customers piling in. The bartender struggled at first, but Chloe quickly found her rhythm. cranking out drinks with ease. Meanwhile, Steve, nowhere to be found when his team needed him most.
After less than an hour of a stress test, Steve can't pull it together. He didn't act with his employees at all. He didn't manage. They don't operate together.
After the test, John laid down his judgment. The staff had risen to the challenge, but Steve had failed them. Joe returned to refine their cocktail-making skills with trendy, simple drinks, while Jesse focused on building up their customer service confidence.
It's going to be 1, 2, a half ounce of sweet vermouth and Amaro, and then a 2-ounce pour of some good solid bourbon.
Then came the grand makeover. In just 36 hours, Headhunters transformed it to Metal and Lace, a sleek steampunk lounge designed to attract the tech crowd and stand out in Austin's competitive live music scene. The filthy tiki bar was gone, replaced with polished gears, a brand new stage, and a sound system to match. The roach problem? History.
Oh, that's big.
Oh, no!
Doesn't smell like cat pee.
The bar, of course, was the first thing that I noticed and wanted to get behind. We have an actual, proper, real bar.
On relaunch night, the crowd poured in, eager to see the changes. Steve, however, was more interested in sampling drinks and mingling than doing any real work. But the bartenders, especially Chloe, kept the ship steady, and the customers were loving the new vibe. As John left, he made one thing clear. Chloe, not Steve, was the real leader of the bar.
I am leaving.
Okay.
I have no confidence in Steve's ability to change. You are the leader here.
Thank you.
If this happens, it's going to be because of you.
But the victory was short-lived. Just 6 weeks later, Chloe and Jewel were running the show. And though customers loved the steampunk transformation, Steve had slipped back into old habits. He still hadn't filed the staff's payroll paperwork, and they weren't getting paid.
Jewel and I have been acting as managers for the bar. So far, people like the new drinks. They like that we're dressing up, and it doesn't smell, and there aren't cockroaches in their drinks. But I see Steve very quickly going back to his old ways.
Frustrated, the team began looking for new jobs. Ultimately, Metal and Lace closed its doors for good in April 2014 when the lease expired. Sales had plummeted, and though Steve briefly searched for a new location, the bar never reopened. Up next, John Taffer headed to Framingham, Massachusetts to take on the Chicken Bone, a struggling bar owned by Bill Rodenheiser. Bill was already a successful excavating business owner, but 5 years ago, he decided to gamble on a second business venture. He purchased his favorite local bar, the Chicken Bone. Even though he had zero experience in the bar industry, Bill was looking for a way out of the construction world and dreamed of running a successful bar. He was so confident in the original Chicken Bone's success that he opened a second location in downtown Boston before he even learned the ropes. Big mistake. That new spot bled money, and after just 9 months, he had to shut it down.
9 months. I mean, just think about all of a sudden just lighting $1.5 million on fire.
With his finances in freefall, Bill doubled his hours at his excavating job to keep things afloat. He even moved his family from their big, beautiful home to a small condo 75 miles away.
To keep his two businesses afloat, Bill was forced to double his hours at the excavation company and move his wife and children from their beautiful 3-story home to a small condo 75 miles away.
Now, the original Chicken Bone was spiraling out of control. Bill didn't trust his general manager, Jeff, to make any decisions, and the place was losing money left and right.
Thrives on confrontation. Bill has a difficult time seeing the big picture.
Desperate, Bill made the call for John's help, hoping to save his sinking ship. John arrived in Framingham with his wife, Nicole, riding shotgun for recon. They parked in front of the bar, and John started reading through the Yelp reviews. They were brutal. People weren't just avoiding the place. They were actively warning others to stay away.
They are confused. A dive bar that invites families to dine? Please explain to me why I would want to enjoy a beer with friends with screaming children running around a bar. I couldn't believe my friend dragged me here. What was she thinking?
John decided to send Nicole inside for a closer look while he watched from the car.
I'm going to have my wife, Nicole, look around, have something to eat, have a drink or two, and she can get me some great feedback on what's going on in a Chicken Bone.
As soon as Nicole walked in, she was hit with a blast from the past, but not in a good way. The place looked like a kid's playroom that hadn't been cleaned in ages. Sticky floors, cheap decor, and a weird, clashing vibe. This was supposed to be a bar famous for its wings, but finding them on the menu was a challenge. Buried on the back, they were easy to miss. Even worse, the word surprise was misspelled, and the whole thing felt confusing.
I just have a beer. The menu was so busy and confusing, and it's really huge. It just kept opening and opening and opening.
Nicole ordered the buffalo chicken mac and cheese. Not long after, she started feeling it, not in a good way. The food was giving her an upset stomach, and heartburn soon followed. It wasn't exactly the experience you'd expect at a family-friendly restaurant.
It says like family restaurant, so I didn't expect it to be a dive bar.
It's not a family restaurant, right? Would you bring your kids here?
Nicole sent John a text, telling him to come inside so she could give him the lowdown. Once John got the scoop, he sought out Bill to lay down the truth. They headed into Bill's office, and John didn't hold back. The place needed major changes, starting with that old sign. It just screamed, "Cheap wings, cheap drinks." The next morning, John covered it with a mysterious top secret sign to get people talking. John then gathered the staff to dig into the bar's issues. The Chicken Bone was somehow pulling in $2 million a year in sales, but they were still hemorrhaging money. The cooks didn't even know all the recipes because Bill refused to share them. It was a mess.
If I told you I want you to list every recipe for me, can you do it?
No, I can't. I don't have the recipes to any of the sauces. I'm not entitled to them.
John brought in his experts, bartender Michael Tips for the drinks and chef Spike Mendelson for the kitchen. What they found was pretty horrifying. Behind the bar, there were no mats, which was a major safety risk. The kitchen? It might have looked clean at first, but under the surface, it was filthy. There was spoiled chicken in the fridge, and the more the staff cleaned, the more problems they uncovered. The kitchen wasn't even ready for the soft opening, so they had to scrap the food for the night.
Food that's unsanitary and not clean like that can actually kill somebody.
Then, out of nowhere, Bill just walked out. With tons of chicken wings sitting in the cooler and the bartenders pouring drinks with way too much alcohol, things were chaotic. The next day, Bill came back, apologized for bailing, and tried to explain himself.
Yesterday I was totally amped up, looking at the kitchen, seeing everything that was going on, and I think it was beyond disrespectful of me to be displacing my anger and frustration on you.
Mike, meanwhile, had some big ideas for cutting down the bloated menu and elevating those chicken wings. He even brought in new equipment to make that happen.
What do I want to do with the menu? I want to burn the menu, John. It's way too big. I feel by going to 20 items on the menu, cutting the menu down in half will help out and is a good start. So.
But John wasn't done. He had a serious chat with Bill about the family-friendly concept. John saw it as a major reason why the bar was losing customers. People didn't want to sip martinis surrounded by kids. John also suggested a new name for the bar. Bill wasn't thrilled about changing the name, but John was firm. If Bill didn't agree to it, there was no rescue. Reluctantly, Bill put his faith in John's vision.
You changed the name to what? I mean, I don't even know.
That's right.
It's insane.
That's right. If you don't want to do this.
John brought in designer Nancy Hadley to help transform the bar. The remodel kicked off, and John introduced Bill to some experts who could guide him through the bar industry's ins and outs. Jim Cook even sent in brand new pint glasses to class up the joint.
My designer, she takes my vision and turns it into reality. Chicken Bone is dead.
Okay.
So I'll give you the new logo.
Okay, good.
Finally, the day of the relaunch arrived. John was ready to unveil the bar's new name and look. The Chicken Bone was no more. Say hello to the bone, chicken and tunes. Bill was pleasantly surprised. John managed to keep the bar's history alive while giving it a fresh, more mature vibe. Bill's wife was especially relieved, saying it took a lot for Bill to come around to this change. The staff walked into the revamped bar, and it was night and day. The playroom aesthetic was gone, replaced by a sleek, grown-up look. John had fixed the glassware situation too, so bartenders wouldn't overpour, and installed a brand new glycol system to keep the beer at the perfect temperature. The new menu was simpler, and John laid down the law. Bill had to start trusting Jeff, his general manager.
And we had too much product. This is the entire new menu. Front and center, chicken wings. We have boneless next to regular to target women. It's simple, and Bill, inventory is great to manage.
The relaunch kicked off, and despite a hiccup with the computer system in the kitchen, Jeff handled it like a pro. Tickets started rolling in, and the customers loved the live music and fresh new vibe. John, satisfied with his work, told Bill it was time for him to step up and keep the momentum going.
I'm letting this guy change my name, but it had to do with having to trust the years of experience in creating something new. And I'm glad we did it.
It's a pleasure to know you, Bill.
Thank you very much, sir.
Bill's gonna be successful. He's a successful guy, and now he knows how to run his bar. I'm feeling pretty good.
30 days after the relaunch, the Bone had already saved $60,000 through cost reductions. Bill had finally started trusting his team, and things were looking up.
Cost reductions at the Bone have already saved an estimated $60,000. If Bill can maintain John's cost-cutting measures, he could potentially make a profit of $250,000 this year.
But the victory didn't last. In November 2014, the Bone closed for good after failing to reopen following a summer closure due to low sales. They blamed the economy, but it was clear something just didn't stick. The bar was put up for sale for $175,000, ending its run. But when John Taffer rolled up to Weber's Place in Reseda, California, he was greeted by a bar that screamed failure from the outside. Owned by Kervin Sinton, who had sunk his life savings from his barbershops into the place, Weber's Place was a disaster. Kervin bought the bar in 2007, but didn't bother to redecorate it, so it still looked like the strip club it used to be. As if that wasn't bad enough, Kervin had been hiring bands to try and drum up business, but it was backfiring. He kept booking at great costs, but they'd blow up and head to better venues in nearby Hollywood, leaving him in the dust.
I bought Weber's, and at the time when I bought it, it was being operated as a strip club, and I started immediately changing the whole vibe to a music and entertainment venue. In the 80s, Weber's used to be the #1 place for college kids to hang out.
On top of that, Kervin had no control over his staff, who were outright stealing from him. Money, booze, you name it. But he didn't lay down the law because, in his mind, hiring new staff would be even worse.
I consider all the bartenders I have as thieves. The bartenders are very slick.
This is my tip. Kervin's super nice guy, but it works to the disadvantage of the bar.
A couple times I have hooked up people, I'm not gonna lie about that.
At this point, I know they're gonna steal. I just want them to steal.
John showed up with mixologist Michael Tips and chef Keith Jones, ready to work some magic. From the get-go, they were unimpressed with the exterior. The bar had a giant red roof that looked out of place. John, having run some iconic music venues like the Troubadour, knew exactly how hard it was to compete with Hollywood. But Weber's Place wasn't even trying.
Weber's Place, look at that big monstrosity, that red roof.
It's like a bad birdhouse.
Keith headed in for a little recon, and things went downhill fast. He ordered a martini, and to his horror, the bartender used the glass to scoop ice instead of a scooper. Major health hazard. He also ordered wings, but between the bartenders getting distracted by the band and the kitchen staff moving at a snail's pace, Keith waited forever. When the wings finally arrived, they were rubbery and discolored. Keith didn't even dare take a bite.
Oh, look how rubbery that wing is. He can't bring himself to eat it. Look at this.
Disgusting. And looking at the chicken, it was discolored. So I knew they had some problems with the proper temperature going into the fryer.
John had seen enough and stormed into the bar to confront Kervin. The man admitted that he never changed anything after buying the bar and was basically running a strip club without the dancers. He was losing money left and right, mostly because his staff was stealing. They were overpouring, pocketing cash, and giving away drinks. John dropped the truth bomb. These employees were never going to change, but Kervin hesitated, afraid he'd hire even worse thieves.
I've seen employees put money in the tip jar without going into the register. They're not just stealing money, they're stealing the product. They're overpouring.
That's like slapping you in the face.
Yeah, I've seen that a few times. And
so what did you do when you saw it?
Well, trying right now is firing them, trying to train them not to be thieves.
Taffer called for a staff meeting, laying down the law. Shape up or ship out. John and Keith then took a little kitchen tour, and let's just say it was nasty. The fridge was filthy, grease was old and gross, and the chicken, yeah, it was spoiled. A safe temp for the fridge should be around 40 degrees, but this fridge was at 72. Chicken was immediately tossed, and Van the chef got ordered to deep clean the whole place.
Down to the fryers.
The grease is old. You see that? Contaminated grease because of the specks in there.
The minute he bit into that food, he tasted it. Does this work?
Yeah, it works.
That's not cold enough.
It's not
to
cold.
feel it. So that chicken is sitting in here at a dangerous temperature. Let's look at this, chef. Look at the way this chicken looked.
Things behind the bar weren't much better. Dirty shelves, sides, a filthy rag sitting in the beer bin. It was a disaster. When John confronted bartender Rodaya, she laughed about the state of the place, but John wasn't having it. He poured blue curacao into the ice bin to make sure it got cleaned out later and let everyone know they were on thin ice. That night, the staff, including server Layla, who was hoping to prove herself worthy of becoming a bartender, cleaned the place spotless.
You smiling? Is this fun for you?
Today was the first day that I noticed that.
You know what? Then maybe you need to hire somebody who can see. Because if you can't see, you can't work here.
Pipe down, player.
What?
The next day, John returned, impressed by the cleanliness. But then came the real shocker. John revealed that the bar was losing $435 in liquor costs on a Thursday and a whopping $715 on Friday, all thanks to staff giving away booze like it was candy. Mario, one of the bartenders, admitted he had no idea how many shots he'd given away, and even confessed to pocketing money. Kervin didn't fire him at first, thinking somehow that Mario could change. But John made him see the light.
Probably overpoured. Probably gave a shot away.
Probably?
I overpoured.
You overpoured. How many shots have you given away without asking? 100?
Maybe.
More?
sure. Probably. I don't know.
After a staff vote, Mario was out the door, and Curvin realized he'd likely lost thousands to this guy. Layla, who had been caught making out with Mario on the job, promised she'd change her ways too.
What happened in the parking lot when I came in one day and you guys were making it in the parking lot? That's stealing my time.
That was one time, and I talked to you about that. So.
One time.
And I don't want to talk about it right now. So.
Well, we're talking about it. It's my money. That can happen no more.
It won't happen with me.
Next, it was time for some training. Michael taught the staff how to properly measure drinks using a simple counting trick, while Keith schooled Van on how to defrost chicken properly. No more limp, waterlogged chicken.
When you first get that bottle and you flip it, in your head I want you to use the word bubble. I want you to say bubble really quick. Bubble, 1, 2, 3, 4, cut. You got an ounce. You got an 8, you got 2 ounces. You got a 12, you have a martini.
Then came the stress test. As expected, it was a disaster. Tyler, one of the bartenders, didn't know his drink recipes, and Layla was being micromanaged to death by Curvin, running around like a headless chicken. Meanwhile, Van was taking forever to get food out. When orders finally did arrive, the chicken was raw inside. Things were so bad that John had to pull drinks and food off tables. A customer even found a hair in their drink. Talk about a nightmare.
Hair in my beer, bro.
After the chaos, John decided on a major pivot. The bar was going Caribbean themed, with a focus on light and dark rum cocktails. The food menu got a revamp too. Fewer fried items to make the kitchen run smoother. Curvin was pumped, saying the new menu reminded him of home.
It's real good. This reminds me of home, actually. It smells like a Caribbean, it looks like a Caribbean, and I'm very, very impressed.
But John wasn't done yet. To prevent future theft, only Curvin and the manager, Joe, would have access to the liquor storage. If staff wanted to steal, they'd have to get creative. But John wasn't giving them the chance.
Never in this business, nobody ever gets this key ring but you guys.
We're going to be the only people going in there, period. Any doubts that could be in our minds as to any kind of mishappenings is eliminated.
Tyler continued to struggle during bar training, while Layla stepped up big time, showing her quick learning skills. Finally, John revealed his plans to Curvin, the renovation. After 36 hours, the bar had a brand new look and name, Weber's Rum Bar and Grill. The place was unrecognizable, bright, fresh, with new furniture and lighting. Curvin was blown away by the Caribbean vibe. The lips from the old strip club days were gone, replaced with a stage that doubled as a seating area. John even installed a new CCTV system to catch any funny business.
Oh, it's chandelier.
On relaunch night, Tyler completely forgot the drink recipes and got pulled from the bar, working the floor instead. But Layla, she was the star of the night, proving herself behind the bar. Van also stepped up in the kitchen, getting food out fast and efficiently.
Still trying to get familiar with those drinks. I knew how they made them pretty much right until they opened up the doors, and then I just won.
2 months later, Curvin was booking bands 5 nights a week, but things weren't all sunshine and rum cocktails. He'd rehired Mario, and Yelp reviews were terrible, with complaints about the food, service, and management. By July 2013, Weber's place closed for good. A new owner took over in 2014, but even that didn't last long. Weber's time had run out. Anyway, when John Taffer rolled into Stand Up Scottsdale Comedy Club in Scottsdale, Arizona, what he saw was a total disaster. The club was owned by Howard Hughes, a comedian who had opened the place after a rough divorce. He teamed up with Nathan, an investment banker, who put in $180,000 to get the club off the ground. But things went south fast. They lost $19,000 in the first month, and the downward spiral continued.
First month open, we lost $19,000.
Howard was more focused on performing every night than actually running the club. As a result, the place was falling apart, earning a terrible reputation for poor shows and lousy service. They'd lost $50,000, and the situation was dire.
I go up every single show.
Which left his staff and business in disarray.
I think Howard cares, but I don't know how seriously he takes it.
John and his experts, mixologist Frankie Marshall and career comedian Gianluca Rizza, came in to assess the mess. The exterior of the bar was drab, with no marquee to advertise who was performing.
All right, there it is, guys. Stand Up Scottsdale.
Frankie went in, hoping for a drink, but after 10 minutes of being ignored by the bartender, she gave up. Eventually, she was led to the VIP area where a server finally brought her a drink, but it was terrible.
That's a s'mores. Well, you can see that's way too sweet. Well, nobody's gonna order a second one of those. I have a diabetic coma. Oh, look at her face.
It's horrible. It tasted like watered down milk with alcohol in it. It was difficult to drink.
The comedy show wasn't any better. Howard took the stage and made awkward jokes about wasting Nathan's money. 20 minutes in, other comedians took the stage, and Frankie still hadn't gotten her drink. To top it off, they were grilling food by the front bar, filling the room with smoke. John went in to confront Howard. The smoky room was just the start. Behind the bar, John found a mess, dirty counters, and disorganized chaos. The office was a disaster zone, filled with unopened bills and disarray. Howard was full of excuses, but no real solutions. John had to hit him with some brutal honesty.
Walked into a curtain of deep smoke. Is this place on fire?
Yeah, it seems like it, yeah.
Oh, I'm John.
John, so happy to meet you. Yeah.
Damn, that has got to be the ugliest kitchen I have ever seen.
The next morning, John met with Nathan and the staff. The staff were frustrated and pointed out the obvious problems John had already noticed. Howard claimed he was more concerned about being the face of the business, but John called him out. Nathan was the one writing the checks, while Howard had no real stake, so his behavior was all too casual.
But what's more important to you? To be on stage or to own a business?
To be on stage.
Nathan, how do you feel when you hear that?
Frustrated, disappointed. Disappointed is more accurate. I want to be the face of this club.
John introduced his experts to the staff for a much-needed training session. Frankie focused on speeding up cocktail service and using a decibel meter to keep noise levels down. Gianluca worked on improving service, emphasizing that a 2-item minimum was better than a 2-drink minimum. When customers order food, they're more likely to buy drinks.
The level of the noise, I am going to use this decibel reader. Your goal is to not go over 50 decibels. At that point is when people start to get agitated, so we want to keep it under that level.
John set up a stress test to see if the staff could handle the pressure. The bartenders made mistakes, serving drinks slowly and failing to meet the goal of serving everyone before the show started. The green room smelled bad and the front seats were left empty. Howard didn't take responsibility for these blunders. The kitchen was swamped with 20 tickets, and customers were still waiting for food and drinks when the show finally began.
Waiting for a drink for about 15 minutes. They decided just to leave the bar and come sit down here.
While you're waiting there, take someone else's order. Our goal was to have a drink in every person's hand before they move into the next room. That's definitely not happening.
The show was a disaster. A heckler caused chaos, and the bar staff were too busy chatting to handle it. A mic blew out in the middle of the set, and customers started walking out. John and Nathan were livid. Howard retreated to his office, hiding from the mess.
I'm telling you, man, the guy...
So you quit?
Talking about I don't quit? He's lying about it.
Your partner is lying, without a doubt. I'm going to tell you what I saw. We blew drinks, we blew food, we blew show production, we blew it. And you're sitting up here in your office angry rather than down there taking care of your guests.
The next day, John brought in comedian Owen Benjamin to give some perspective. Owen pointed out that the green room was too small and that the stage decor was lacking. Frankie trained the staff on making sophisticated cocktails. John got Howard's sister Shannon and Nathan to talk to him, finally breaking through his stubbornness.
I'm a big dude, but this is a green elevator, not a green room. It's a little small, brother. Because a green room is where you invite your family and friends. You could fit maybe a small dog and a 6-pack of beer in here.
John sent Howard and Nathan to the Laugh Factory in Hollywood to see how a top-notch comedy club operates. Jamie, the owner, was willing to help, and they struck a deal. 36 hours later, the Laugh Factory, Scottsdale, was born. The bar had been completely renovated.
Take a step around there. Look at that little kitchen.
Holy smokes. No smokes. Holy no smokes.
A marquee was added, the interior was modernized and classier, and the kitchen was walled off with all new equipment. The showroom was warmer, the green room was bigger, and the stage was redesigned with more room and closer seating.
That is too cool.
We can get our comics in discreetly. They follow the red carpet down the middle of the club to the stage. So we took care of the comedians, and we're going to take care of the customers.
The bar had a new POS system and a lit back bar. Owen Benjamin performed for the relaunch, and everything seemed to be running smoothly. Bartenders worked fast, customers were seated up front, and the food and drinks came out quickly.
These new fryers are awesome. They're clean, they're not losing temperature, and no smoke. My lungs are grateful. Nothing but a fry thing.
Tonight, my brother really did step up, and he really helped us out a lot.
Thanks.
But then, things started to unravel. 6 weeks later, it was clear that Howard and Nathan were still negotiating with the Laugh Factory about keeping their brand. Howard had become more attentive, but still performed on open mic nights only. He undid several of the changes made during the rescue, including those to the green room, which resulted in lost seating. They also reverted to their old name, Stand Up Scottsdale, and and left the Laugh Factory brand behind. To add to the mess, Bar Rescue had to return to repaint the exterior due to breaches of local policy. In a Back to the Bar episode, things heated up between Howard and John. Stand Up Scottsdale eventually moved locations in 2016, but closed in April 2017. There were plans to reopen in 2018, but those plans never materialized. The roller coaster ride of Stand Up Scottsdale ended with more questions than answers, and left a legacy of missed opportunities and broken promises.